Welcome to Real Talk, the show where we look at issues facing our youth. My name is Ome Congo, and I'm your host. And today we're going to talk about our young people, but in a very particular way, looking at a program that services youth in one of the most positive ways possible. Because across the globe, people just have such a negative perception about youth. But there's a great organization right here in this area that more people need to learn about and support. With me today is Richard Bienvenue, also known as Benny, and he is the executive director of Our House. Welcome to Real Talk.
Thank you.
Let's get right into it, because I'm so impressed by this organization. Tell the world about Our House.
Okay. It's a residential job training center for orphaned, abused, abandoned, neglected young men, ages 16 to 21 years old, and they live there. That becomes their home. They work construction during the daytime, 8 hours a day, and then at nighttime we have their high school classes. So it's a very challenging, very comprehensive program.
Wow. Now, you said a very specific population. Why did you choose this particular population?
They're the young men, there are our children, the nation's children, that have fallen through the cracks. They're the ones that nobody wants, and sometimes I hear people call them the throwaway kids. So some years back I was working with them in a day program in Arlington County school system, and I was working with those kids. But it was a day program, so they didn't have the support, the encouragement, the love from the staff that we have for them right now. So that's what fostered the whole idea of doing the same type of a thing, but in a residential setting.
So you say residential setting. We're not talking summer program, winter break program. You guys are full-time.
We never close.
You never
365 days a year we are open.
And when did you open?
We had our first young men in 93.
Okay.
So we're 18 years old.
Wow. That is amazing. Now, you talk about the youth being throwaway. And you look on television nowadays, we see riots in London, we see riots in Philadelphia, and it seems that so many people are scared of our youth. And they're talking about them with such pejorative language. And it's really frustrating. But you all seem to embrace the same type of youth that people are indeed throwing away. What has that experience been like? Do you regret it? Do you feel like they come in and represent the stereotypes? Or are they just young people looking for love and respect?
Clearly they're looking for love and respect, without a doubt. These young men have never felt special. They've never had or most of them have never had the one-on-one that we had from our mums and dads. They just feel hopeless. And one thing we initially start them off with feeling is the hope. The hope that when they graduate, carpenters make a good chunk of change. Yes, especially in this area. So right away, the hope that they have to do well. There are high school classes at nighttime, which is terrific to have. So when they graduate, Congo, not only do they have a construction trade, but they'll have their high school diploma to go with it.
Now that's amazing. And just give us a couple of stories, one or two, success stories of people who've entered your program and maybe something that they're doing now or have been doing since they left the program.
I can tell dozens. One of the, maybe after we've been open a year and a half, we had a young man some of the young men have a home to go to or where they can visit or a family member on the weekends. And this young man was heading home or heading to a family on the weekends. And we found out that after he'd done that maybe 3 weekends in a row, that when he was going home, his mother would give him a pistol and send him out to rob to support her habit.
Wow.
And we found out, and I called him into my office, and I said, Chris, you're not going home anymore. And he threw a fit. So what do you mean you can't stop me? I've earned the privilege. I've done well. I said, no, because I know what's going on, and we're not going to have that. Your life is much too important. You're playing in the big leagues. And then he was angry and upset and threw a fit. But a couple minutes later, as he walked out the door, he bit his tongue because he didn't want me to see the smile on his face. That again, there were some controls brought in. 8 months or so later, he took his high school exam and passed it. And in the evening during the class, he found out, and he came running into my office and said, Benny, I passed. I said, yeah, I know you did. And he said, do you mind if I call my folks and tell them? I say, help yourself. So he sat down, and he didn't have a mom and dad to call. He called his aunt. And he said, Aunt so-and-so, I passed my exam. And then he said, I'm the only one in my family to have ever done that. Wow. Now it was my turn to look the other way, and I didn't want to see the sniffle coming down.
That's right.
But he's done real well. So that's just one of many, many success stories.
And one of the things that when reading about Our House, you're not just a center. It's actually a farm. And,
it is.
Am I correct? And people who have watched the show, they may have never seen any of these products. This is the first time on the show. But what we have here on the table, these are some of the products that your youth have created. Can you tell us a little bit about what we have here?
Yes. In addition to the construction projects we do every 8 hours a day, since we have a 140 acres farm up near Olney, not too far from Gaithersburg, we had a volunteer a few years ago who said, how about if we farm some of it? And I said to him, Ed, I'm not a farmer. He said, let me worry about it. So indeed, the young men, they grow crops. They grow everything except for corn.
Wow.
And they earn the organic certification in the state of Maryland. And so they grow crops, and they sell them to 3 different farmers markets, and several restaurants in Olney will purchase them. So they've been doing this for about 6 years. And then about 5 years ago, one of the kids came up to me. It was so funny. They said, Benny, I know a way we can make money without doing any work. Well, I just laid and I rolled my eyes. Okay, I'm game. Tell me about it. And they said, how about if we get some bees and they'll do the work? I said, by George, that's a great idea. So I went back to my volunteer, Ed Gould. And I said, Ed, they want to do bees. He said, I'll take care of it. And 8 months later, we had 3 beehives, and every year we added 1 or 2 more. We're up to 9 beehives. And so every year we harvest the honey. And we just harvested that just a couple of weeks ago.
And here it is.
And there it is. And boy, is that good. It's non-pasteurized. It's right from the honey cone right into the bottle.
Okay.
And so this past winter, another young man said, how about if we do chickens? We don't have to do any work. So I said, well, let's give it a try. So indeed, we got about 100 and some laying hens this past winter. We built a chicken coop on wheels, of course, since it's an organic garden, so we can roll it around to different parts of the garden. And so within about 3.5 weeks, the hens started laying eggs. Wow. So we're getting about 80 eggs a day. So the guys are selling those too.
Wow.
So it's not that we're making any amount of money. We're not. Certainly our house is not making any money because all of the proceeds go to the young men into their graduation account. But it's just wonderful because they're learning entrepreneurial skills. They're learning how to deal with people. They're learning paperwork, how to keep an inventory of how many eggs they have and the honey and all that type of thing. So it's a really good opportunity.
And why did you go this route? Because so many people are saying, regardless of the skill set of our youth population, whether they come from disadvantaged backgrounds or come from privileged backgrounds, they need tech skills. They need to just learn how to, get on a computer. But you don't find a lot of programs nowadays where young people are learning these types of traditional, wonderful skills. What was the philosophy behind choosing these types of fields for them to develop their skills in?
For several reasons. One, because the young men are so good with their hands. In through school, they've been demeaned, pushed out, given negative reinforcement, so they quit. Most of them quit at 16 years old. And so by using their hands, it's a wonderful way to motivate them. I'll walk in sometimes at nighttime during a class, and one of our young men might be struggling with an algebra or geometry question or something. And I'll say, tell me what the issue is. And they're struggling and say, wait a minute. Weren't you the young man that just yesterday you were putting a window in and I barred your level and it was plumb and it was level? And the kid will say, yeah. I said, well, by George, if you can do that, which most people in the D.C. area cannot, I know you'll be able to work out this math problem. So it's a way to get them to think. It's a way for them to feel successful. It's a way for them to build some self-esteem, which so few of them have. Plus, as we just mentioned a few minutes ago, it can be a wonderful career for a lot of our young men.
Absolutely. And I noticed also with the name that, many people name their organization such and such community center, or they may name it after a particular person.
Yes.
But the name of your organization is Our House.
Indeed.
Not the house,
Exactly.
Our House. Was that intentional?
Absolutely. House because they're builders in construction, but Our House because they're invested, it's part of them. When we first moved to this farm, there was a big chicken coop. And we needed a classroom. We needed a second classroom, and we needed a woodworking shop. So the guys went to work. The roof was coming off. They tore off the roof, put a new roof on. There was no windows in it. They'd all been broken out. So the guys installed the windows. And that is their legacy. It took like 5 or 6 months for our young men who were trainees to have built that. But that's their legacy. And already I have, now 6, 7 years ago, I have some guys coming back, and they have children or married, and they'll say to their little child or to their wife, "These are the 4 windows I put in." So they have an investment, but it's their place. It's not mine, but it is clearly our house.
Yes. And who are some of the founders? How did the organization get started?
Well, to make a 3-hour story in 20 seconds, in the 70s I taught for Arlington schools in a day program. And since my dad was a carpenter, I certainly learned the trade. And the kids' construction skills were really pretty good, but they went home in the evening. And weekends were a disaster. Monday was horrible.
Right.
So I went into my boss one day. I said, "Ruth, if we can do the same thing in a residential setting, you'll really see some growth."
Yes.
Well, she shook her head and said, "Not NIMBY, not in this neighborhood." But the idea never left me. And after we lost that grant, but the idea, as I said, I couldn't get those kids out of my mind. So after teaching at several other places, I decided to open up the program in a residential setting. Okay. So that's how the idea was born and how it got started.
Wow, and here we are 18 years later.
I had a lot of wonderful volunteers from boards of directors to step forward and help. There's just no way one person could build such a community. It just couldn't happen.
And what is when you see these young people and their faces light up when they completed a project, well, what is the one feeling that you take away from these experiences that you wish other people would feel as relates to our young people, because there's so much negativity out there in terms of perceptions?
Boy, if they could take back that you're saving a life, that some of these young men have been called snails and maggots and roaches, that they're really decent human beings. They need a second chance. So many of them never had that. So many of them didn't have the folks, as we said a few minutes ago, like you and I did. I've had at least 2 young men in those 18 years. Before they came to us, they were in 17 or 18 different foster homes.
Wow.
And they weren't successful. So they come to us not trusting anybody, especially an adult with a chip on their shoulder. So after a few months, they finally kick the chip off their shoulder. After a few months, they begin to trust you, to look at you, to say, I've got worth. I'm not the maggot people told me that I was.
That's right.
And so a number of the volunteers that come with us, or a number of our board members, they say, "Wow, it really is worthwhile. You're really saving somebody. You're giving a young man an opportunity to make something of himself." And on top of that, when they become adults, they're not sucking out of our taxpayers' money. They're putting into it.
That's right.
With their jobs.
That's right. That's beautiful. This has been wonderful. We're going to take a quick break and come back, and we're going to hear about your special event that you have coming up on September 10th.
Indeed.
Right? All right. We'll be right back with more Real Talk.
Any questions?
What kind of service plan does this come with?
Unlimited.
Can I keep my same phone number?
Absolutely.
How do I change the ringtone?
Just hook it up to your computer.
Does it have a camera? What's the warranty? Does it come in silver? Can I put my party shuffle on this? Does it have a 3.5 millimeter headset jack? You sell a lot of these?
It's the one I carry.
You ever get those phantom vibrations in your pocket?
Any questions?
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Ask questions. For the 10 questions everyone should know, go to ahrq.gov.
Welcome back to Real Talk, the show where we look at issues facing our youth. My guest is Bienvenue, Executive Director of Our House. And you have an event coming up on September 10th. Can you tell us more about it?
Yes. We've been open, as I said, 18 years, and we've been on this farm for 8 years. And so we are going to have our first ever open house.
Wow.
And everybody's invited. There's no charge. We'll certainly take donations, of course, but we give tours. There'll be live entertainment. Some really good musicians will be there. And you can see the kids of what they've done, what they some of the building projects they have done, some of the things they've even made in a woodworking shop.
Okay.
So everybody's welcome.
And what's the overall goal of the event? Are you trying to build something? It's just for fun? What's the goal?
Yes, because we usually have a waiting list of young men, we have to turn them away. We want to build a new dormitory.
Okay.
And we have 16 young men, and we're going to go to 24. So if we can build a new dormitory, we can service and help that many more kids. But the nice thing about that is our young men themselves can help build this dormitory.
Wow.
They can do all the construction and carpentry work. And it's going to be a 100% green dormitory.
Wow.
So we're looking forward to that. Our young men are anxious to get started.
Wow. And this is amazing because you talk about so many of them coming from places where they had nothing, and this will give them something that they can really call their own.
Absolutely.
Their own home.
Yes.
That's amazing. Now, who are some of the people who have supported you along the way?
Well, 11 years ago, we got a phone call from the Oprah Winfrey Show. And I said, secretary told me, I said, you're joking. We tease each other a lot. But she was very serious. And after Oprah's staff did a 2.5-month investigation, they selected us for their User Life Award or Oprah's Angel Award. And so indeed, they sent a crew down. They filmed our young men in action for 15 hours. And then I flew out there, and then we were on that show. So she really supported us. Then she got Paul Newman to kick in too, and,
oh, wow.
and he helped support, and some other people. So with her generosity, we were able to have purchased this 140-acre farm. And a number of the different, all the local foundations helped us do that too. The property is $1.5 million, and we couldn't have done that without so many supporters and so many people stepping forward and giving us a hand.
Yes.
And so that we want to do the same thing with this new dormitory we want to build, so we can help the more kids.
Well, what was it like having people like Oprah and Paul Newman come in and help you out?
That was neat. I didn't meet Paul Newman, but he sent us a picture, of course, with an autograph. Of course, our kids nowadays don't even know who Paul Newman is.
Of course.
But it was wonderful with Oprah. Everybody knows she's a very extremely kind, generous person. As a matter of fact, some months later, we didn't quite have enough money to finish off the deposit on it. And she helped us there too. It was sort of one of those things.
Yeah.
And that was really nice for her to do that.
That's beautiful. Now, you said that you need to be able to bring in more young people.
Yes.
I don't know if this is getting too personal, but how does it feel when you've had to actually turn somebody away and say, we don't have space?
You get angry. You say it's absurd. There's no reason in a country like this, in a region like this, in a state like Maryland, that there's no reason for that. You don't want the kids running the streets. You don't want them getting in trouble. You want them educated. You want them to learn a skill. You want them to give back to the community. So I get angry and upset about that. So does my wife. But that part is sad. And on top of that, most of the work that we do, I said they work 8 hours construction every day. Most of that is for other charities. I can't tell you in those 18 years all the building and renovations and repair work we have done for other nonprofits. So we're continually giving back.
Okay. Now, with your vast experience dealing with young people, and I know you have to get as frustrated as I do when you see so much neglect going on in the lives of our youth, not just here or across the country, across the globe. What do you feel like it'll really take for people in this country to get serious about taking care of our youth and really investing in them in a way that our house does?
Well, that's a really good question. I love history. I love the study of human behavior. I'm not 100% sure. I think it's been somewhat of a wake-up call, what's gone on in London and Britain and all of that. Somewhat of a wake-up call, what's going on here just a couple of weeks ago here in the county, the flash mob type of a thing. What a sad commentary. And I blame that on lack of education, lack of proper parenting.
Yes.
There's just no way that should go on. And where are our coaches, our scout leaders, our mentors, the teachers? They are trying to make up for what the parents aren't doing. Not that I'm putting the parents down, but our population, that's why we have the young men, most of them.
Yes. And do they come from that one area or all parts of Maryland? Where do they?
All over the D.C. metropolitan area.
Okay. And so how would one find out about it? Do you partner with other communities or schools in D.C. or in Virginia? How do the young people find out about it?
From social service agencies, juvenile service agencies, special education. In our 18 years, so many of the different caseworkers, social workers, and state workers and city workers know about us. So twice, sometimes 3 times a week, we'll get a packet of information about a youngster. and then we'll read that packet and say, should we bring them in for an interview or not? And that's why we want to go from 16 kids to 24 kids. We got that land, 140 acres.
Right, right.
So there's no sense pushing aside or turning away more kids. It's just foolish.
And how much will it take to
$3.5 million.
$3.5 million.
Yes. That's a big amount, but on the other hand, when you figure a building that's going to hold 24 kids, kitchen, dining room, classrooms, lounge, washrooms, all of that, that's not a lot of money.
Right.
And especially since our young men can help build it themselves. I've got an electrical company that's going to help us cut rate, and a roofing company that's already said they're going to help us cut rate.
Okay.
And they're going to teach the kids too.
Okay.
Which is just terrific. So not only will they be learning carpentry skills, they're learning some electrical, some roofing. Still working on a plumber.
Okay. How's the dormitory going to look? How is it structured? Is it just going to be an add-on, or are you going to?
No, it's going to be a separate building.
Okay.
And since it's going to be 100% self-sustaining, it really has to be away from the other building. Not away from it, but not attached to it. And I brought a picture of it too.
Oh, okay. I think that just the idea and the concept is great. I mean, if people see this image of what it is that you're trying to create, I believe that we should really be able to get to that $3.5 million. I mean, we're talking about the lives of our young people.
Yes.
What can people do if they want to contribute, but maybe they can't be at the event? How can they get involved?
They can go on our website. It tells us tells people how to make a donation. You can do it any number of ways: check, PayPal. There's a number of different ways.
And what's the website?
www.our-house.org. And you've got to have that hyphen between the hour and the house, or it won't get to it. But again, it's our-house.org.
Okay, and I know on the event on September 10th that just going to be emceed by Gwen Tolbert.
Gwen
Tolbert, a lot of
Tolbert
people know in this
from
area.
Fox
I
News,
have had the opportunity to meet her. And when she talks about, I mean, we talk about so many different things when we've spoken, but when we get to our house, when we get to these young guys, her face just lights up like the sun.
It does.
And you can see the passion there. Is that type of energy contagious to all the staff who are working at our house? Is that kind of the energy that they have?
To most of them. She has a real love for our young men. When she lived in Canada years ago, she worked with girls with similar backgrounds. But she came out after we were on the Oprah show. Fox 5 did a story on us. And from that point on, she met some of the young men. And then she came out and did several nighttime classes with the guys. And she just really loves the guys. She's terrific.
Are people also able to commit some of their own services if they're interested in possibly volunteering or sharing some of their skills?
Absolutely. Not only do we need mentors and tutors, once in a while we need somebody to take a kid to a dentist or a physical or doctor's appointment or that type of thing. We thrive on our volunteers. You couldn't run such an organization without having volunteers like the loving and caring people we have. As you're talking about Gwen Tolbert, her contagiousness is passed off to other people too.
Okay. And the event starts at what time on September
5
10th?
o'clock in the evening, and it goes till 9 o'clock.
And anybody can come out?
Anybody can come. We've got all kinds of neat food. One of the local restaurants is going to donate all the food. It's all going to be local food. A lot of the produce that the young men have made themselves. And the James Ricciuti from Ricciuti's is hitting his other vendors for local drinks and food and such.
Yeah.
So that'll be really nice.
When you look down the road, I mean, in just a couple of years, you're going to be 20 years of our house, 25, 30 years. What do you envision? What is it that you would like to have accomplished to make you feel like you were successful?
Our success rate is approximately 80%, depending on which statistic you use. It could be 76 or 82. I look down and see that even a higher success rate. I look down and seeing us maybe breaking into some of the other service organizations that's a dying field. What young people go into tailoring? Who goes into reupholstering? What young people go into working with senior citizens? So the same concept, and it's interesting, Congo, over 30 or 40 different groups across the nation have come and visited and asked how they could start such a program.
Wow, okay.
And it doesn't have to be construction and carpentry during the daytime. It could be anything. It could be computers. It could be culinary arts, the tailoring, the reupholstering, automotive. So the young men could do, or young women too, could do that 8 hours a day and still have their academic classes at nighttime. So again, on 140 acres, I see this place just growing and servicing more young men.
Now, you talked a little bit about how the organization started. But I mean, quite honestly, the way you talk about it and the commitment that you show, this seems like this is just something that you were raised with. I mean, how did you get this philosophy or just passion to want to not only give back but inspire others to do the same?
I guess a number of things. My parents are very giving, caring parents. I had wonderful teachers in school. I'm very, very blessed about that. And a lot of them were nuns. I'm very blessed about that too. But the whole idea from at home from the coaches we had playing ball, the scouting leaders we had, the teachers, it was give back. And I just grew up since my parents were caring parents to me and my sisters, that you had to give back. It's not about the fancy car. My car is 20 years old. So is my wife's car 20 years old. That's not important. What's more important is making a difference in the lives of these youngsters who really have nothing. And so it's easy to do. The days are long, the weeks are long, but it's easy to do. From holding a young man accountable to his actions to praising him when he's done something really well.
And it seems like you want these young people to have many of the experiences that you had.
Oh, absolutely.
As a young person as well.
Oh, yes. We have one young man who graduated 17 years ago, and he's going to come back this fall. We're waiting for him to be back on staff, and that'll be really nice. And it's nice when a young man graduates and says, "Can I be on staff?" I said, "When you're 25, give me a call. We'd love to have you."
Oh, that's beautiful.
So that positive cycle will repeat itself instead of the negative cycle that so many people are into.
Okay, so we're looking at September 10th. Is there an email where people could, if they want to get more, or a phone number in addition to the website?
There is. It's openourhouse.com. I believe that's what it is. I got it written down there.
Excellent.
Yes.
And so I hope that everybody will come out in any way possible to support. And the goal is to get $3.5 million.
It is.
So we can get this new dormitory.
Yes.
And make sure that our youth are not forgotten.
Exactly.
Simple. Thank you very much, Benny, for coming out and just
You're
telling
welcome.
us about not just the wonderful work that they're doing, not just the event, but just inspiring other people to really stay committed in the lives of our youth. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Once again, this is Ome Congo with Real Talk. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to email me at realtalk@omecongo.com. Remember that youth are 50% of our population, but 100% of our future. Let's make sure that we're doing our best to take care of them.